Welcome to Knit Together with Kim and Jonna. I'm Jonna.
And I'm Kim.
And this is our Ask Us Anything mini-sode.
Yes.
Yes. So to all of those who commented below on episode 12, which is our 1-year anniversary episode, thank you so much. We got so many questions and they were really fun to read. All kinds of questions, from the ridiculous to the mundane to the, you know, kind of more personal family stuff and what we used to do in our past lives. And anyway, so stay tuned for all the answers.
Yes. Well, we're not going to answer every single question because there were so many.
Yeah.
So maybe we can add that as a little mini part of every episode, is we can answer a couple more questions.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
So, yeah, in the new year, we had kind of talked about, because we're having so much fun doing Vlogmas.
Yes.
Unexpectedly. I mean, I think I enjoy watching other people's Vlogmas, and so I kind of had this idea in my head about what it would be like. I didn't understand how sometimes it was hard to film just because, you know, I don't have camera skills. I have zero camera skills.
Yeah, like when we do this, we set up a tripod, we have
Right.
lights, and we have a camera with a microphone.
Right.
But we used our iPhones.
We did, and a gimbal, and so then there was that learning curve.
And filming out in public.
Right, and one time she's like, oh, you need to slow down with the gimbal, you're making me sick.
Yeah, I was getting motion sickness, I noticed, if it moved too quickly. Yeah, so, yeah. But anyway, it's been really, really fun. I didn't know how much I would like it, but I think it's made me not stress so much even about when I edit the episodes, because everybody loves it. There's no captions. There's no inserted pictures. I mean, it's a different format, but...
Right. It was really hard for her to kind of let go.
It is, because my mind thinks, oh, this is a great place for a picture. But it's not necessary. I mean, they're little short 5 to 15-minute videos, and that wasn't the purpose of it. So, yeah.
So you kind of had to let go a little bit.
I definitely had to let go. Even with filming, I mean, most of the time I did one take, and that's what it was, you know?
Yeah.
And even if I looked back and my hair looked weird, or I said something weird, or I was just like, nope, that's my day.
Yep. I know.
It was fun, though.
Sometimes in certain light, like all the wrinkles showed, and I was like, oh, whatever.
And I haven't. We've been so busy. You can tell my hair is way too tall. And I actually love the gray here. I'm thinking of, I do have an appointment next week to get my hair done, finally, after Christmas. But I'm thinking of leaving like it natural growing in. Maybe she can just do color on the ends.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because I'm really liking it. I feel a little Medusa-ish with the... a little gray spot. But yeah, even the hair, like, who cares? It's just hair. And
it's real life.
Yeah.
That's why I filmed that one episode in my pajamas.
You did?
I did. That plaid thing when we were playing the games. I was in my pajamas.
I don't even think I even comprehended. I guess I did realize. That's so
I changed out of my white blouse that I made mulled wine in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank goodness I didn't get anything on it. But anyway, somebody commented on a video, though, where's Grandpa? I'd like to see your dad in one of the videos, but
really?
I can hear him on the back stairs, so you never know. It might be this episode. I saw your mom today at the gym.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Anyway. So all that to say about Vlogmas is that we are considering for next year doing some more just mini sodes, microsodes.
Exactly. That's what we can call
an
them.
alternating week, you know.
Right. The two we as I mentioned, I think previously, we publish 2 videos a month with the episode and a mini-sode. The episodes are like what we're working on, that kind of format, and the mini-sodes, in case you're a new viewer, the mini-sodes are topical. And then the other Fridays, we haven't been since last February or March posting anything. But we were thinking, since we have loved Vlogmas so much, that those other Fridays, that you could do one and then I could do one.
Yeah.
And just, again, similar format to Vlogmas. Short, you know.
More Dogma style.
Yeah, and if you look up Dogma, it's like no special effects, no, you know, special camera techniques.
Right, like a handheld camera.
Exactly, handheld camera. You know, very just like real life, this is how it is. So yeah, that's fun. We can see if we can make it work.
So let's get to the questions.
I just had to say one thing because
in
episode 12, was it 12? When did
13? No, it was a mini-sode.
Oh, right.
It was a mini-sode. We gave away the calendars.
Yes, exactly. It was the one
Vlogmas that we did together.
Yes, that's what it was. The one Vlogmas we did together, which was whatever date, we gave away two Sheeps calendars. And one of the people already contacted us. It was Yvonne. Yvonne contacted us, so I have hers packaged up ready to mail. But we haven't heard from Ray Irvine yet. Ray Irvine, you won a calendar, and I want to get it to you by January 1st. So if anybody knows Ray Irvine, we did put a community post up. We put an Instagram post up, which it's gone now. And we also commented on her comment. So please, please, please.
Email us.
Yeah, we want to email us and, send us your address so we can mail you your Two Sheeps calendar. But that's all the business I had to take care of.
Okay. All right. All right. So.
And Jonna made us yummies.
Yeah. Well, she always comes here starving. You're always hungry.
My stomach was growling so much.
And I've been eating Christmas cookies all day, so.
Thank you so much.
You're
it's
so
really
welcome.
Yummy. Yay!
And we're at my house, and there's fire in the fireplace. It's actually really chilly today, so I'm happy to be cozy. And my husband, oh goodness. He's walking up the stairs with a dog in one hand and a heavy metal crate in the other, so. Okay.
Yeah.
All
John
right.
is in charge of Teddy right now while we're filming.
Right. And he is a handful, so I'm happy to be sitting here with you and not be on dog duty. So I was just telling him that this morning we were both out in the backyard, and we don't have fences here. And I was in a bathrobe, bare-legged, and Teddy's running around on a leash, and John's out there drinking his coffee. I'm just thinking, what are the neighbors thinking?
They're thinking you have a new puppy.
Yes.
Let's
Oh
say
my
cheers.
goodness.
Anybody
Cheers.
else who's joining us, cheers with your
Cheers.
tea, your coffee, your juice, your wine.
All right.
Yep.
Okay. So I broke the questions down sort of into categories because some of them were similar. So I thought we could cover a lot of, bases.
Great.
Answering just one question. So
Excellent.
anyway, it's like a game show. Do you want to pick a category?
Let's start with, I don't know, family, I guess.
Okay. Oh, I like this one. How did you guys meet your husbands, and what do they say about the podcast? So I'll go first since you have food in your
I have
mouth.
food in my mouth.
Okay. So I met my husband in high school. I went to an all-girls religious school, and he went to the all-boys religious school, and they're kind of like brother, sister schools. And I was in a musical called Hello, Dolly, and I met his cousin. He was older, he drove a fancy car, he smoked cigars,
Oh, gosh.
he belonged to a country club.
Wow, he was racy.
Oh yeah, and played golf, and I was young. I didn't know what was happening, and I was very impressed anyway. And he's quite a jovial person. He's still in our lives, and I love him very much. But the second musical we were in, which was Fiddler on the Roof, I met his cousin, and we actually double dated. Yeah, so I was in the front seat with his cousin, and John was in the back seat with his date.
Oh, funny.
I know, right? So at some point, as things happen, I broke up with his cousin, and it wasn't too long after that John asked me out.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's so sweet.
we were young, really, really, really young, and dated for 5 years,
Wow.
and then got married. Yeah, we
That's
got married in
awesome.
California. We bought our first house out there. We had all of our 3 children in California, so they're all Californians. And yeah, so we've been married, I stand corrected, 37 years this year in July. So
Fun.
yeah, and I was somewhere, we went to a graduation party, and somebody asked us if it was our second marriage. And I was like, oh, that's a funny question.
It is, yeah.
Why would someone ask that? And she goes, oh, well, you're so happy. I thought for sure it was your second marriage.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I was like, oh no, it's like our 8th or 9th marriage. Just to the same person. Right?
Yeah, you have to recommit all the time. of
Yeah,
course.
because you go through these, different phases,
Changes, yeah.
and now we're grandparents and empty nesters, and we have a puppy. So,
Yeah. That's
anyway,
so sweet.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's my story.
So,
I'll do the second part after you do your first part. What do they
Okay.
say about the podcast?
So my husband George is my second husband, and after I was a single mom for maybe 8 to 10 years, I can't remember now, I met George at church. Specifically at a Bible discussion group. No, maybe I met him first at a church service. But anyway, he was an usher and I was coming in. So, and it wasn't love at first sight at all. We just built a friendship over the next few years. And after a while, actually I heard through the grapevine that he liked me as more than a friend. And I had been in some bad relationships in the past and I was kind of gun shy. And so I was just kind of waiting. I didn't want to rush into something. And so anyway, I finally realized that I liked him too. So then we got married. We will be married actually next September, 20 years. That's a long time for a second marriage.
That's a really long time.
Yeah. So, he's
nice.
The love of my life. Totally.
Sweet.
So what does he think about the podcast? He thinks it's great. He loves that I'm doing something that I'm passionate about and that I love. And I think he's really impressed that I've learned so many things that I didn't know before. And because normally anything technology, I would just ask him. He's a computer programmer. He's in, information technology and computers. And so he's the go-to tech guy. But I really made a point, and he's a photographer, but I really made a point of really making this my own thing and not relying on family members to do everything for me, so I learned all that. Thank goodness you're doing the financial stuff because that's not my thing. But yeah, so he loves it. He loves that we're doing it.
And he's an amateur photographer, so he helped you pick out all the equipment.
Yes,
yeah.
He
Some
did.
people ask what kind of equipment we use and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah, kind of like low, middle of the road. Nothing super, super fancy. The one super fancy thing I bought, and it still was low-end fancy, was a professional gimbal, and I'm just going to sell it. Anybody want to buy it? I've actually never used it.
Isn't it one of those ones that you strap on?
No.
Oh, you don't wear it?
Actually, I was at my Christmas concert number 3, and the professional videographers there were using the exact same one I purchased.
Oh, interesting.
But it's just too much. So the one Jonna got,
and the handheld.
Yeah, I purchased it. It's perfectly fine for the iPhones.
We actually got it just to film the baby.
Yeah.
But then it turned out to be pretty useful.
Yeah, it's great. So anyway, yeah, he loves it that we're doing this. What about John?
Oh, my husband loves it also. I think, so I'm an introvert. I like to stay at home. I think that he thinks it's good for me. And I think he thinks that he always says all the time, he's very complimentary. Oh, you're a natural. You're a natural. So anyway, it's sweet, and he's super supportive, and he has been in sales and kind of marketing his whole life. So he'll give me marketing advice and sales advice, and I just promptly, I'm like, it doesn't really, that's not my part of it.
Right.
Yeah. She's really good at the social media and the marketing and all that stuff. And I was surprised that no one said who's more of a perfectionist. But yeah, I just like to talk about knitting, and honestly, I don't really care about the rest of it.
Right.
I do make an effort to take nice pictures. Oh my goodness.
Just recently we really learned a clue to taking better pictures, and it was because I was using someone else's picture and I realized what works. But we're both just like the blind leading the blind here. We really have no idea what we're doing at all. So, I figured it out with my own picture taking, and then I would send her examples and send her, like this helps. But anyway,
right.
But you're doing great. Your pictures are gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to make your life easier. That's all I want to do. It's not about the pretty picture. It's just about, is it usable? So, all right. Different category.
Sure.
All right.
I mean, we already kind of answered the Thanksgiving ones, right? So we can skip that.
Okay.
How about, what is one food that you couldn't live without?
Gosh, I don't know. Do you have one in mind?
Lemon. It's not really a food.
So that's funny. That kind of came up to me too. I was thinking, what is always in my refrigerator are lemons.
Yes.
Always. Salad dressing.
Yep.
I mean,
I love lemon on everything.
A hot toddy.
Yeah. Rice with salt and pepper. I'll put lemon on it.
Potatoes.
Salmon, I put everything. Yeah. Yeah. Roasted potatoes with a little squirt of lemon.
Yeah.
Lemon is my all-time.
Yeah.
I could not live without lemon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was going to choose cheese for you.
Oh, I have to live without it. But because I don't want to make this to be like, I I've had stomach
Too
issues
intimate.
for a while. But anyway, I was cutting out dairy. But recently I've had dairy and it hasn't bothered me at all. I think, anyway, so. But
So-
lemon, I can't live without lemon.
I'm one of those odd people who eats the same thing every day. And it's not because I don't love food and I don't love different things. It's just because I'm lazy. This is gonna be a recurring theme in this episode. She says she's a lazy one. No. And so I just eat the same thing every day. So one thing I couldn't live without, it would be really hard for me to go without coffee. And I drink decaf. It would be really hard for me to go without coffee. So I'm going to say bananas because I'm pretty sure that you can live on bananas alone. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Either bananas or potatoes. Okay, but bananas or potatoes. Yes, both can sustain life, I believe. You might develop scurvy at some point.
Lemons can't.
Lemons.
I'll just end up with a permanently sourpuss face.
I know. Oh my goodness.
That's funny.
All
okay,
right.
next one.
All right. We're just going to go through the different categories. So how about finances?
Sure.
They're all really good, so it's hard to choose one.
While you're choosing, I'll have another sip of wine.
Okay. Okay. Do you stress over investing in beautiful quality yarn when there can be the risk of not completing the project or it not suiting you or the recipient? Well, that doesn't happen to you.
Yeah, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I don't, because I always will I will knit the project. And if it doesn't suit me, I'll give it to somebody else. And if it doesn't suit the recipient, I'll give it to someone else. So no, I don't really stress about it. Again, I look at it even, especially the beautiful quality yarn part, I look at it as I'm supporting a family. I'm supporting whoever that dyer is, whoever that created that yarn. They have a family they're supporting. So by purchasing their yarn, I'm supporting them. And then I'm contributing to slow fashion, right? Instead of fast fashion. I haven't worn this yet this year because it hasn't been cold enough. This is a really warm sweater. But this will be in our family forever. And I love it. And I'm so happy I made it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't cheap to make. But as we saw, my daughter wears it. Like, it's just a family. It's just going to be like in the family. And I love it. And it'll never go in the garbage. It'll never go in a landfill.
No. We still have my grandpa's sweaters that my grandma knitted.
A lot of people in Norway, same thing. They have
stuff down. Carlos was saying today from Arne and Carlos that his mom just knit a sweater, then would wear it a few times, and then rip the whole sweater out and make a different sweater and wear that a couple times and rip the whole thing out and make another sweater.
That's funny.
Which is one of the things I love about knitting.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so now your turn. What about you stressing about?
So, and I mentioned this in episode 14, which hasn't aired yet, but I have a great website called yarnsub.com. Not I. There is a website called yarnsub.com, and I use that a lot. And so, to me, beautiful quality yarn maybe has a different meaning. And so, honestly, I really try to be very price conscious. I think I'm a very price conscious person. And so, now that I'm a little bit wiser and I know how to use substitutions and I know when I want to buy a factory yarn, a factory dyed yarn, a mass produced yarn, and I know when I want to, splurge a little bit and buy something special. So I think I am very, very careful about what I buy.
You definitely are.
Now, not completing the project, yes, there is always that risk with me of not completing the project. In fact, one of my New Year's resolutions is to finish that Letho sweater.
Nice.
I want to wear it. It's a beautiful sweater.
Yes, it is.
It's gotten to the boring part, and I'm dreading the double-sided provisional cast on, and then the welts that go all the way around
That is going to be...
That's going to be epic.
Yeah.
But it's just a beautiful pattern, and it's Moonstruck Knits. What is Natasha Hornby? Just has the most exquisite patterns. So anyway, I want that sweater. Next year is the year.
Nice.
So All right. Let's do another finance one. Because I know people were really interested in this. Has kind of been a recurring theme, which is how yarn budget for the month or for the year, and if you do you stick to it? How do you decide? I'm just going to combine a couple of questions.
Yeah,
How do you decide what to purchase? Maximum dollar amount for each project. So,
you can go first.
Okay. Okay. So the reason why I take care of the finances for the channel is because I guess I'm pretty budget conscious.
Yeah.
And so in the beginning, though, I didn't know how much yarn cost. I really didn't. And fortunately, my husband didn't either. But he kept getting like the credit card charges.
Oh, gosh.
And yeah, I thought maybe he just didn't notice, but he did. And I did splurge on one of my favorite sweaters. I remember when she rang it up at the cash register, I was like, oh my gosh. But since then, you know, like I said, I've learned a few things. And I wouldn't say I have a yarn budget, but I did kind of curtail the purchases up until, you know, like Rhinebeck and the yarn festivals, because I knew that you have kind of one and only opportunities to buy certain things. And so I didn't really have a budget. It was more about, you know, did I see something that was really special? So that's what it is for me. And sock yarn is always, you know, something that I like to buy kind of as a souvenir from festivals. So I do have a limit that I'm willing to spend. I don't own any cashmere sweaters. Per sweater. I don't own any cashmere sweaters. Just because I feel like I can get kind of the same look with some. So it's kind of a game for me. Now that I'm talking about it, it's kind of a game where I'm thinking, oh, well, how can I get that same look without, without breaking the bank? So anyway, so I don't have a yarn budget for the month or for the year. It's more like per project. How do I decide what to purchase? It just has to be really special and something that is unique and different and speaks to me. And sometimes it's just that it's a really good value for the money. And yeah, so I definitely have a limit for each project, I think. Or there's this limit in my head that I'm unwilling to go over. So anyway.
Well, as everybody knows, I have a lot of yarns with patterns matched in my queue, full projects. And honestly, I never did that until COVID. The first project that I purchased that I didn't knit immediately was during COVID. And I really was to support Pick Up Every Stitch. And I think maybe once a month I purchased something to help them stay open. I didn't want COVID to end or continue and them not be there.
Right.
And at this point, so if I might see patterns that I like, but I save the purchase of yarn until I visit a yarn shop that I haven't been to at this point. So recently I was on Long Island. So when I'm in a yarn shop, I like to purchase something there.
Right.
Then I have a memory. It's my souvenir yarn. So I guess souvenir yarn is basically now my purchase, and it still matches a pattern. But yeah, and if I can't afford, I made a cashmere sweater once. So I put the yarn on, you know, in the back and Pick Up Every Stitch, and
on layaway.
Yeah, kind of like on layaway, and I, you know, purchased it when I could afford it. I think I first bought 1 ball or 2 balls to swatch, and then yeah, when I could afford it, then I purchased it. So, but that sweater now, I mean, I'm very careful with it. When my daughter wore it, I think I mentioned, I said, just make sure you don't have any Velcro, because she's a mom, so there's Velcro on everything with kids. And my daughter's dog, the other daughter, jumps up, and he's bigger, so I can't wear it to their house because his little claws will get caught in it. So I'm just really careful. I won't cook in it. I'm just really careful with it. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to spend, you know, a crazy amount, but I think the cashmere was $50 a ball. And you know, one thing I realized, and I don't know if people realize this, the smaller you are, the less money you have to spend on yarn.
Right.
I mean, I usually make an extra large, so I need a few more balls than other people.
For sure.
So it never crossed my mind before. I mean, until I was buying that cashmere. But I just wait until I can afford it, and then I buy less in the months around there. I don't have a specific amount, but anyway.
And you know how when a pattern calls for, you hold these 2 strands of yarn together and then these 2 strands of mohair, and like several strands can really, really
break the
add
bank.
up.
Yeah.
And so for me, that would have to be, something extraordinary. But I'll try to, pare that down to maybe holding 2 yarns together, or even 1 yarn that will have similar qualities.
A lot of yarns with halos. You don't need to hold the mohair. Yeah.
Right. And I know it has to do with drape, and it has to do with, the composition of the fabric. And honestly, the sweater I have in mind, it's by Anne Vencel. It's the dimension of the colors. It's the colors combined together that create this unique fabric that you couldn't get in any other way.
Yeah, there's one of hers I want to make too, but it would be a huge
my
investment.
goodness. They're amazing. Yeah. Absolutely amazing.
Works of art.
But yeah.
Next one.
All right. Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, there's some on the back of that thing too. So there's personal ones. So I'll do one for me and you can do one for you.
Okay.
So, Kim, when did you start dyeing your hair? How often do you change your hair color? How many colors has it been? And the name brand of the pink that I used. Now I'm on purple. I'm actually considering in next week when I do it to do pink instead of purple. I've been purple for a while. I started dyeing my hair senior year in high school. I was a cheerleader. Our uniforms were orange and blue, and I dyed it like maroon. It clashed. It was so hideous with my cheerleading uniform, but I did it anyway. And so since then, that was in 1981, 82. I graduated in 82. I've been dyeing it on and off since then. So, and how often do I change it? Whenever I feel like it. I basically go, my friend is my hairstylist. I go to the salon and she says, what are we doing today? And I'm like, I don't know, you pick. And you've mentioned this before, I always say not green. And she would never do yellow or orange. But it's usually, what have I done? I have done blue. When that movie Inside Out came out, I became obsessed with, what's her name? Joy? Is that her name in the movie? The blue-haired girl? I wanted that hair.
The animated.
Yeah, the animated. So I did blue. I've done blue, purple, pink, red, and that's basically it. Oh, black.
Tell the story of the first time you dyed it red.
And blonde. Oh, the first time I dyed it red. I don't know
if it was the first time or...
Actually, you know what it was? It's interesting you say that. So I used to get my hair done in the city, and it was easier. I don't even know if I ever dyed my hair when I did it in the city. I don't think so. But then I didn't have time. I was a single mom with 3 kids. I couldn't go to the city, to New York City, to get my hair done. So I was looking for someone up here, and they weren't like edgy enough for me. Everybody was, I want to look different, obviously. And so this woman at my church, I wanted her to do my hair for my wedding to George, and all of a sudden I wanted to dye it red, and this is the first time she kept saying, I want to do your hair, I want to do your hair, I want to do your hair. I didn't even know she was a hairstylist. And so I said, okay, for my wedding, we had the rehearsal and the rehearsal dinner, and then we all went to, I think, her house or a friend's house and slept over, and she did my hair that night before the wedding the next day. Sorry. And I wanted it like fire engine red. And actually turns out now it wasn't even that red when I look back on the pictures, but I wanted it to be bright red, and she did it. And so I got it chopped off. Before that it was just a brown ponytail, and I got it chopped off and dyed it bright red for my wedding.
And George didn't know.
He knew I was going to do something. He didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but my wedding was on the boardwalk at Rye Playland in Rye, New York. And so that morning it was bright sun. So I walked around the edge of the end of the ice house, because it was kind of out in front of the ice house, and the sun was shining in my hair. It was really, it was wonderful. But he loved it. He loves everything I do with my hair.
That's fun.
Yeah. I don't know the color of the pink. Anytime people ask me, I never know.
You had it wild orchid, because I remember there were a lot of...
one of the colors, which is kind of like this color, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so... Yeah, so a personal one for you.
Oh gosh, there's so many good questions. It's really hard to choose. All right. What kind of... I'm picking an easy one. What kind of sewing machine do you have? Do you have a serger? I have a Bernina, and I have a new Bernina I bought during COVID, actually, to support my local business.
There you go. No, it's true.
No, it's because
You can order it on Amazon, but why give
Right.
more money?
No, I know, exactly. No, I bought it in town, actually.
Good.
And I had a Bernina from the 80s, and my son he would stick pins in every orifice, and honestly, it was just never the same after we moved a few times. So I got it repaired a couple times, and the tension, needles would break, and so one day I just told my husband, I said, sewing is really it's just part of who I am. I can't imagine not having a sewing machine. I think we have 5 sewing machines in the house.
Oh, wow.
We have we have at least 2 or 3 Singer featherweights. I have a treadle machine that is a white family sewing something or other. And the Bernina, and I have a serger. It's my second serger, and it's a brother. And it's pretty basic, straightforward, but I don't think you can really sew things that are nicely finished without a serger, honestly. You can, but it would take a lot of hand sewing. So anyway, I love my serger. Let's see.
Should we flip it over and see what's on the other side?
Sure. So it's funny.
It's 2 pages.
When I did the category, my favorite category is funny/random.
We're getting to that.
I know. Okay. So these are questions for both of us. Oh, what did you do before you started podcasting? Do you have other jobs now? Go ahead.
Okay, so I've done a few different things. I first was a professional dancer, and I auditioned for a bunch of Broadway shows. The closest I got was right out of high school. There were over 500 just chorus members going to a 42nd Street audition in New York City. And after the full day of auditioning, it came down to the last 11, and I was one of the last 11, and they took 6, and they did not take me.
Oh, no.
At the end, you basically have to fit into the costume and fit into the place in line, because they don't want to re-choreograph and restage everything. So then after that, I got a job dancing on a cruise ship for a couple years, and that's where I met my first husband. Then he was Austrian. We moved to Austria, and we owned a restaurant in Austria, and there were only 3 of us, myself, my husband, and 1 waitress. So I would go in the morning and open, even though I barely spoke German. That's kind of how I learned German. I had taken it 2 years in high school and forgotten it all, but once you're there and immersed, nobody spoke English except my husband, so I picked it up really quickly. And then I would work breakfast and lunch was all 3 of us, because that's the biggest meal in Austria, and then they would work dinner, and I would go home with the babies. And then after that, moved back here, I became a fitness professional. As a single mom, it was good because I could make my own schedule. So I taught aerobics. I was a personal trainer for like 10 years. Then I did go back to college. I wanted to be a math teacher. And I got up to the point where I was going to have to take all these graduate level math classes, and they were all from 4 to 6 in the afternoon. And that's when a single mom, my kids were getting off school. I thought, I'll wait and do it later. I'll finish. So I got a job at a local gymnastics gym. First I was teaching gymnastics. They also had a nursery school there. And then that's where I worked for the next 20 years.
Wow.
My kids it was in our town, my kids could take the bus and get dropped off at the gym. And so that was really convenient for a single mom. And that's the job I had right up until 2019.
Yeah.
And then I retired right before COVID. And I'm so happy I did.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have wanted to try to teach those classes via Zoom. So then I just stayed home and knitted a lot. And then right before that, we had started our knitting group in person. And so that's why now this is my job. It's fun. What about you?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so right out of high school, let me slip my stitch marker. Right out of high school, I went to the University of San Francisco, and I was going to get a bachelor's degree in the science of nursing, which is interesting because my middle child is a nurse. So I was in college for about 18 months, and then I decided, I ran out of money, basically, and I decided to get married, because that's a good reason to get married, right? Okay, so I got married, had kids, and then when we moved to Texas when the kids were little, I think maybe 4, 9, and 11, and I decided I'm going to go and finish that silly degree. So in the meantime, I met a woman who started a company, and the company, her employees wrote textbooks, basically. So it's called a development house. I was really intrigued by what she did, and she actually hired me to do some proofreading. So basically just taking what the mathematicians had written, and back then it was handwritten, and I would transcribe it, I would type it up with
like on yellow legal pads or something?
Just like 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper.
Wow.
And so we used special programs to create the formulas and all the math and stuff. So I really enjoyed that. But I was like, you know what? I'm tired of just transcribing other people's work. I want to be a mathematician. So I went back to school, and I think my littlest was like 4 or 5. So when they were all in school, I went back to school, and I graduated when I was 38 with a degree in the a Bachelor of Science degree in math, with a minor in French and biology, because all the science I had to take for the nursing. So, and then I worked. I was always a freelancer, so I worked for a development house, but all the major publishers, because it was something I could do at home with the kids. In fact, the kids would say that, oh no, my mom didn't work, but it was more when they were in school or when they were asleep. And I've had kind of odd jobs too. I worked for a home builder. I used to create websites and kind of techie, geeky things, but I've always done something creative. I used to sell dolls. I've done catering. I've done professional baking. So I just love to be creative. I don't think I've ever sold anything with sewing. Maybe I made drapes or something at one point. But and then when we moved here to New York, I thought, well, I want to get a graduate degree. I've always wanted to get a degree in biostatistics or epidemiology. So I applied.
Why would anybody want a degree in that?
I applied thinking there's just no way. I'm older.
They won't take me.
They won't take me, blah, blah, blah. And I remember I was visiting my daughter in North Carolina, and so between the lights and the wine and the fireplace, it's warm. It's warm in here. And talking about myself, it always makes me super nervous.
Yeah, you're not typically someone who talks about yourself.
We were in North Carolina, and I think my husband must have called and said, oh, you got a letter from New York Medical College. And I was like, well, open it. And he did. And he said, well, you've been accepted. And I was like, but. And I got a scholarship.
Wow.
A partial scholarship. So anyway.
I always say she's so smart, and you are so smart.
Oh,
really.
well.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Now I'm really, really warm.
That's why she's in charge of the finances. I don't know if that's another question, but
I know. I have to keep her on the straight and narrow. Finance-wise, legal-wise. I don't know.
Well, it helps that it takes you longer to make a decision about something. I'm like impulsive. I want it. If I can afford it, I buy it. Mm-hmm. And you're more like thoughtful about it. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I always want to make sure that there's money in our bank account so we can send out prizes.
Well, that helps now that it's coming out of our bank account. If we don't have the money, we don't purchase it. Right. So that helps. That helps with the finances.
Yeah.
So next, friendship. Do you want to read one of those?
Okay. That's a good one. Do you ever do anything together that is not knitting related? Well, we used to. We used to do it all the time. Yeah. I mean, if we were knitting, it was just sort of you just brought something along to do with your hands, you know. We used to go to Starbucks and hang out and garden and go to the beach club and
now we're just too busy.
Chat and
we have to make an appointment now to hang out.
Right. So we met, and we've mentioned this before through our friend Natalie, who just thought, oh my gosh, you guys have so much in common. You have to meet. And so I just kind of cold called you. Didn't I?
Yes.
I just felt I cold called her.
And we talk. I never talk on the phone. I don't like
she
talking
still
on the phone.
doesn't.
We talked for like an hour at least. You were heading down to North Carolina maybe to see your daughter because she was pregnant when she lived there, remember?
Okay.
And we just realized we had so many things in common.
So many things in common.
And then we decided when you got back to meet up, it was Earth Day.
Yeah, it was. And the funny thing is, so I show up at Earth Day, and I love to bake sourdough bread. I don't anymore because I just can't because it makes me sick. But yeah, and so she never eats bread, and I show up with this loaf of sourdough bread, and I don't even know what you thought.
I love bread. I eat it sometimes, but at that point, I was definitely
She was
gluten-free.
not eating bread. In fact, you were doing that crazy Dukin diet. Yeah. So anyway, no bread. So yeah, I brought her bread. And you
My
were really
whole
into
family loved
gardening.
it.
I think the first gift I ever bought her was a shovel.
And I use it.
Very fancy shovel. And yeah, we just kind of bonded over life stuff. You know, we both have 3 kids, 2 girls and a boy. We had grandchildren. We both had kind of
Health issues.
my son-in-law had a horrible accident, so we're just kind of coming off of that and kind of regrouping as a family. And you had another kind of medical issue in your family, and how your family kind of had. I mean, when something like that life-altering happens to you, your whole family just has to kind of rally around, and everybody has to make life choices. And I was living out of a paper bag for a couple months, and you do whatever you have to do to get through. So we had that in common.
I think the biggest thing too is how to be the parent of adult children.
And I would always ask her for advice because everything went so smoothly with you and your girls. I felt like I think it's hard to parent adult children.
It is.
Because how much do you help, and how much do you not? How much are you hands off, and how do you give advice, and all that. So I really admired the way your relationship with your girls. I mean, I have a great relationship with my girls, but yeah, I think especially you living with both of them off and on, and their children. I mean, that I did it for 6 months, and it was a challenge.
I think part of it was, as a single mom, I just tried to gather my little chicks around me, and we were just like a team, and we tried to not sweat the small stuff. And, yeah, I mean, they didn't have anyone else to rely on. They couldn't pit mom against dad, really.
Right.
That's always a big thing.
Plus, you always, you worked in kind of early childhood education, so I felt like she had a lot of expertise in that area.
Yeah, I started a program in the nursery school where we had guest speakers come in and talk about whether it's emotional intelligence or, how to lose the baby weight or, how to play with your baby or just a whole bunch of things. I mean, all different topics for moms and babies. And so I learned so much in the really that started about 10 years ago, that I would go back to my kids and apologize and say, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that I invalidated your feelings for how many years. But yeah, I mean, yeah, so that's, I don't know. I was just very blessed with, I'll say easy kids. I'm sorry. Really easy.
I had really easy kids too.
Yeah.
I mean, I was very fortunate.
Yeah, we're very blessed to have very easy kids.
Even though we don't go to the same church, we still had that in common. Also. So,
definitely.
And then we found out that we both knitted, and it was like,
No,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
The rest was history.
Off to the races. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so your favorite topic, funny random. Go ahead.
Okay, we have to answer this one because I have no idea what you're going to say.
Oh gosh, okay.
But I wish we could answer all of these because they're hilarious. If you woke up in the morning and found out that you had been turned into another creature, what creature do you think you would be? Now, it doesn't say animal, it just says creature. So you can be a mythical creature, you can be, I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
That's a hard one.
I think the first thing that comes to mind, it's really strange because the woman who introduced us, her daughter's name is Phoenix, but I'm thinking of a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Oh, cool.
I think there have definitely been, all of us have had times in our lives when we just feel like we're just burnt out at the end of our rope. I mean, with my first marriage, definitely, and just different times where, like, can I, how am I gonna recover from this? How am I gonna go on? Like I started saying at different points in my life, I want to get out of survival mode and get into thrival mode. It's not even a word, is it? Thrival, but I made it up.
You made it.
So,
I don't know what it means.
Like, I don't like being in survival mode, so I always try to find a way to thrive. And it's not easy. And I'm probably in one of those stages right now, actually. And this channel is helping me to really thrive. So, yeah, a phoenix.
Nice. I love it.
What about you?
So the first thing I thought about was I love dreams where I can fly. So, and I thought, well, maybe I want to be a bird, but then I decided, well, birds really don't live that long.
You're so fun.
I'm not sure I
Be
want
a
to
dragon.
No, but I thought of something else. I could. I didn't even think of like mythical creatures, but I mean, like I know like eagle lives like 20 or 30 years. That's pretty long. But then I see them dead on the road, so then that makes me nervous. But okay, so here's my answer. I want to be a sea turtle because swimming is sort of like flying, you know, just gliding through the seas. And I've got this armor on, which sounds awesome. Impenetrable armor. And they live a really long time.
They do.
So I want to be a sea turtle.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
so
I could just swim all the oceans and see all the things. Yeah.
That was a good question. I wonder who asked that
was
one.
a good question. I don't know. But there's a lot of good questions in this category.
Do you want to just do all the funnies right now?
Okay.
We can go back to the beginning of
Okay.
the
I hope you're enjoying this. We're enjoying it.
I know, it is kind of funny. I hope you're just knitting away. And
So this is a great question because this is like me. Of all the clothes you have ever given away or donated, is there anything you wish you had kept? Okay. So I had, and not too long ago when I first started knitting, because I remember wearing it to pick up every stitch, but I had this dress and it was a black plaid, black and kind of taupe colored plaid, cotton, linen dress with short sleeves. And I don't know if I donated it. I don't know what happened to it, but I think maybe I got it on a whim. I donated it, and I regret it to this day.
I just got cheese all over myself.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think about it. Oh, there's Grandpa. I think about it all the time.
Oh. That's annoying.
So annoying. Anyway, I've tried to Google it. You know, black and tan plaid dress, and I don't really remember the brand, and you know, I've tried to replace it, but I don't know what got into me and why I donated it, but I think I did. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, that's my answer.
What was the question?
Of all the clothes that you have ever given away or donated, is there anything you wish you had kept?
Well, knitting related, my mom is a crocheter. She's not a knitter. But when I lived in Austria, and I might have been pregnant with my first baby, she knit me this big, like, balloon sweater. And I feel like it was mohair, and I feel like it had a turtleneck, and it was literally shaped like this, and it had a band around here, like it was almost like a dress, but you'd have to wear leggings. But it was just like,
To go over your belly?
it did fit over my belly. Now, I have no idea what ever happened to it, but my mom has never, I don't think she knit anything before that, and she hasn't knit anything after that.
Oh, wow.
So I kind of wish I knew where that was.
I know.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird how clothes just disappear sometimes?
Well, I am not sentimental. I think because I moved to Austria and everything has to be shipped and you pay per pound or whatever,
Right.
I just am not sentimental, and I will get rid of everything and wish I still had it. I remember this one plaid suit, very casual suit I purchased in Norway, I think,
Oh, how
when I used to work on a cruise ship. And it was white with orange. It was white and orange.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh,
Pants
okay.
and a big oversized, very 80s style jacket.
Oh my God.
And I must have
hilarious.
pictures of myself somewhere, but I have no idea where they are. So I'm not going to insert them here.
No, she's not.
I'm not, because I'm not inserting any pictures in this video.
Right.
But that thing was so funky and fun. And oh my goodness, I thought I was like the cat's
gosh.
meow when I wore that thing.
Oh my gosh, that is too funny.
So funny.
So, talking about sentimental, I still have clothes from my high school days because I just can't get rid of them.
Not me.
Yeah. So, which leads us to the next question. What is the oldest item of clothing you actually still wear, handmade or otherwise? So, for me, it's two things. I wear one of my daughter's like formal dance
Gowns.
gown. So it's not a gown. It's a halter. I've worn it to the beach club for a party. So I wear my daughter's high school prom something or other. I have a dress that I wore to John's cousin's wedding when Jack was a baby, and I still have that. And I made, speaking of handmade items, for my brother-in-law's first wedding, I made this Vogue, like a tunic and a skirt that matched it was all blue, of course. And it was just several pieces. It was like a gored skirt, and the top had all these panels, and everything was double stitched and lined, and it was absolutely beautiful. And so I still have that. But,
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah. So sometimes I just can't get rid of stuff.
Yeah, I don't have
Except for that
anything.
black plaid dress.
I think the oldest thing I own at this point are two dirndls that I had that I bought in Austria. I don't keep old clothes, and actually, with the with the stuff in our room, I've talked about the mold issue. I'm going to go and purge and just get rid of things I don't wear. I haven't worn it in the last 1 or 2 years.
I almost bought a dirndl skirt the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was out of my price range, but it was a wool, like a boiled wool.
Yeah.
Sort of.
So when I lived in Austria, they wear what do they call it now? I can't remember. Trachten. It's the traditional wear. Trachten. I'm pretty sure that's how you spell it. And so I bought a dirndl first, a red one, red and white, and now my daughter Jenny has it. And whenever they do like an international Sunday at church, she wears it and it fits her. Oh, really? Yes. So it's a full dirndl. It has a little short blouse that stops here, and you tie it, and then you put the dirndl on, and then it has a separate apron that you tie around. And so she wears that. And then I have a blue dirndl that was a ready-to-wear, one. I had one handmade for me when my son was baptized or getauft. I think that's the word. I'm just thinking these words are coming up in my head right now. I think taufen is baptized. So when my baby boy was baptized, I had this beautiful blue dirndl handmade, and nobody's worn that since. So that's in my closet with the dirndl. I'm pretty sure I might still have this short little blouse and the apron that goes over it, and it's beautiful. Cool. Oh, actually, I'm remembering now. One thing I wish I still had. I had purchased a traditional black little jacket that you wear over the dirndl. I can't remember the company name. It's like the most famous Trachtenwear company. I can't remember what it is, but it was like this beautiful black wool, and it had a little hook here, and it kind of nipped in at the waist, long sleeves. I wish I still had that.
I wish we had I don't know, customary clothing here in the United States, but we don't. We just don't have any.
I know. It was so beautiful. It has like all around, it's like gathers, and they're all hand stitched.
Oh, wow.
It's just the most gorgeous thing. And of course, I'm like a few sizes bigger than that, so I can't wear it anymore, but it's really, really beautiful. And I just don't want to get rid of it. That's the one thing I'll never get rid of.
I know. I want to see that.
Yeah. Cool.
This is a good one. Do you like visiting zoos? What are your favorite zoo animals? It's funny because you go to the zoo all the time.
I have a love-hate relationship with zoos. I like to bring my grandchildren. I like that they get to run around. It's outside. I mean, COVID, it was a lifesaver because, although you still had to wear a mask in the Bronx Zoo for a long time. So I love that my grandkids get to see the animals, but it makes me very, very, very sad that the lion can't run wild and free. I mean, it's really hard for me. I sound really corny right now, but it makes me sad that I'm sure then people will say, well, then don't go, and the zoos will go out of business, and then the animals won't be trapped. So I have to say I like to go to them because I'm not going to be able to go to Africa and see these animals, but it definitely makes me sad. Yeah. So anyway, what about you?
Your favorite zoo animals? Did you say the lion?
I mean, I really know my favorite are the little monkeys that jump around like crazy on all the ropes, and the origin of the ropes course Right? I love those. I love to watch them.
What is that game show? American Ninja
Warrior.
or
Yeah.
something like that.
Everyone pretending to be a little monkey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are my favorite little animals. What about you?
I can't say I'm a big zoo person. I'm a big aquarium person. I love aquariums. But let's see, my favorite zoo animal. Which reminds me, I bought.
You can do a fish. You don't have to do a zoo animal. An aquarium is
I like the otters. I like the seals, the sea lions, and the otters. So, and they have those at zoos sometimes. Yeah, and I remember we had this. I forget what it was called, but it was in like Foster City, California, and my parents used to take us there. And they had the killer whales, and they had the show, with the killer whales. Yeah, I really liked that. So when we're in Dallas, we try to take the kids to the aquarium. So, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Okay.
Is there another funny random?
Who's most likely to own a sheep farm and why? Yes, me. Would you please share your favorite picture from your teenage years and tell us a bit about them?
I don't know where they are. Oh, they're up in the attic.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm not going to insert pictures. But maybe someday... when I go up in the attic, I will find a picture. I don't know. Do you have a favorite picture from your teen years?
Probably John's high school graduation. He must have been 18. I must have been 16. I remember what I wore. I wore this like lavender or Angora sweater and the matching skirt. And my hair was kind of up in like a chignon. I guess I had kind of long hair back then too. And tell us a bit about your... Oh, I was the awkward teenager. You were probably popular.
No, not necessarily.
I had like one best friend. We did everything together. We even developed a secret language so no one could understand us.
That's so funny.
Or we'd speak French or...
That's funny.
Yeah, and we were both like super nerdy geeks. And I really didn't have much of a social life and... I was the awkward teenager.
Yeah, and I was the awkward teenager until I had this friend, and Audrey, if you watch this, and we actually found each other recently on Facebook, and Audrey was my best friend in middle school, and she had the most gorgeous Farrah Fawcett hair, and she would get up really early in the morning. I lived on the West Coast, and we wore bell bottoms, and we were like really, this was in the 70s, and she would get up and like put hot rollers in her hair and just make her hair look gorgeous. So one spring break, she couldn't ski, but I always went skiing with my dad. So I took her on a ski vacation with us for spring break, and I ended up with mono. Who knows how? I didn't have a boyfriend or anything, but I ended up with mono. And so I had to stay in the hotel room. And so one day she did my hair, and I kid you not, I went back to school that next Monday, with the first day with Farrah Fawcett hair.
And you were popular.
And the quarterback of the football team, I was a sophomore at that time. That was high school.
Gosh.
The quarterback of the football team literally stopped me in the hallway and was like, "Hi, what's your name? You want to go to lunch?"
Wow.
So I went to Taco Bell that day for lunch with him, left campus. It was the funniest thing.
Oh my gosh.
Like, oh my goodness. But he ended up being my boyfriend. But yeah, so I guess a funny picture would be of me with my Farrah Fawcett hair. Yeah, that picture would be priceless if I could find it.
So where were you born?
I was born in Portland, Oregon, but I grew up in Vancouver, Washington, which is right across the river.
Okay. Yeah, so I was born in Mill Valley, California. My dad was a boat captain. And then we moved. My mom didn't like the fog, so we moved to Redwood City. And yeah, so my family's been in California for 6 generations.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about this recently.
A long time, yeah.
You sent me 2 of your family, your what is ancestor homes are museums. I mean, that's amazing.
Well, only because I stumbled across, and I don't even know why I was looking, but one of the houses in Monterey has a new website. And so I sent it to my dad, and yeah, I thought it was funny. I sent it to you. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. I'm grateful to the people who have, kept up the houses and kept the history and stuff. So.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Very cool.
So yeah, and we moved to Texas when I was 30. And then we moved to St. Louis briefly, and then we got here as fast as we could. My only sibling lives in Boston, Massachusetts, so I wanted to be close to him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So is there anything else? I think that's it. That's it for the funny random. I mean, there were actually more, but we didn't include every single picture, every single
Right.
thing. Okay, let's turn it over and go back. Do we have time?
Yeah.
Should we do one more from each thing?
Sure.
Okay.
I know. I wish we could ask you, like, are you enjoying this? Is this interesting?
I know. I should have started that and gone backwards.
Because
instead of turning it over.
sometimes they're,
What's funny to us isn't funny or interesting to anybody
right.
else.
And sometimes we do get comments like, wow, there's a lot of talking. So since this one is all talking.
If you don't like talk,
I know. Don't watch this one.
exactly. Yeah, because there won't be timestamps.
I know.
Because there's no reason.
No.
Okay, so family. Let's see.
Well, the quick one is how many children, grandchildren
and
you
I love
have,
talking
and where do
about
they live. So that's quick and easy. So
Okay, so I have 3 children. My son, Wolfgang, is married to Emily, and they live in Bordeaux, France, which I have shared before, and they have 2 children. And then my daughter, Jenny, is my second, and she's married and has 3 children, and they live in Connecticut. And then my daughter, Elena, has 2 children, and they live with us right now. Mm-hmm. So I have 3 children and 7 grandchildren. The oldest will turn 10 in February, and the youngest will turn 3 in February. So one calendar year, not January to January, but within 365 days, each of my children had a child. And I think that was 2020 or 18. No, it was 18.
that's when I met you and you were making baby blankets.
I was, making many baby blankets. And so I had 3 grandchildren from 3 different children born within one 365-day period. That was crazy. That was fun. It was a fun year.
Wow.
What about you?
I have 3 children. I have 2 girls and a boy, and so my oldest is Emily, and she lives in Texas with her 3 kids. The oldest of is William, and he is 10. Mm-hmm. So he was
something we have in common.
Yeah, our first grandchild. And then my middle daughter lives in Connecticut, and she has 1 little boy who's 2. And then my son recently got married, and if you watch the podcast, you might have seen me in my wedding ranunculus, but he got married in April of 2022 of this year, and they are expecting, and they also have a 6-year-old. So she had a little girl before they got married. So anyway, so I have 5 grandchildren and 1 on the way. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, yes, and 1 on the way.
It's hard to remember all the time.
Yeah, and I think she's due in July.
And I'm known for saying all, like 3 of the grandchildren names and then say, now, what's your name?
I know.
Because I can't remember. I know all their names, but it's just, when you're like trying to say something and all of a sudden every other name comes out except for that child. Mm-hmm. Yeah, happens all the time.
Yeah.
But, Okay, so, food. You love the food ones.
I love the food ones. You pick the food
one because you love the food ones. I'm going to attempt to do a cable row.
Okay, I'm on an increase row.
While we're doing this.
I thought this was funny. Favorite snack while knitting: sweet, salty, savory. So I'm a snacker, but I can't say that I really snack when I'm knitting, mostly because I don't think I want anything on my hands. Mm-hmm. But I am addicted to potato chips. So I guess I'm a salty person. I'm a savory person. Mm. I like pretzels and chips and crackers and yeah.
Yeah, I'm typically not a snacker.
No. It's one of the things I like least about her, actually.
Although I have to say, with everything going on in the last 6 months, I've become a very emotional eater. But if I do snack, it's savory, definitely. I don't have a sweet tooth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a sweet tooth. Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
Like, my husband will always make sure there's ice cream in the freezer, and I don't even think twice about it, but he pulls it out, and I'm like, oh, ice cream. Yeah. That sounds good, but I would never think of eating ice cream or cookies. That said, I bake all the time.
Yeah.
So it's weird, right?
Yeah, it's really funny.
So.
Okay, so finances. Are
there any interesting ones in there? We kind of covered it all.
Yeah, we covered the finances one. But definitely in the channel, Jonna handles the finances. She got us our business thing, right? What was it? Our business license? Is that what it
An
is?
LLC. Yeah, and I pay the taxes and keep track of all the money and that kind of stuff.
She disperses it for us.
I disperse it.
She tells me, like, don't forget where's your receipt? Where's your receipt?
I gave her a little pouch to put all the receipts in.
Yes,
so.
and they're still there in them.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll skip to knitting and fiber.
Yeah, we haven't done any of those.
Oh, we didn't. That's so funny.
No, we forgot about knitting.
Right, that's funny.
We forgot about dessert, too.
Yeah, we'll switch to that maybe in the next camera break.
Okay.
Yeah, we've just been eating the savory, actually, which is our favorite snack.
Cheese and crackers.
So, let's see. What's your favorite place to knit?
In my bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonna's an early riser. I'm usually still trying to get some sleep, and she's been up for 3 hours. In bed knitting, right?
In bed knitting. I love to be... That's terrible. I love my room. I love my bed. I read in bed. I knit in bed. I don't eat in bed. I have a rule about I don't drink wine. My husband occasionally will bring a glass of wine to bed. I'm like, no. I guess because I do all the laundry. No, we do not eat in bed. We do drink coffee in bed, actually. So if that's not my favorite place, then, the living room or whatever.
I think right now, because my house in the last years has been so full of people, my favorite place to knit is anywhere but my house.
And you love to be outside. Like, she always sends me pictures and you're outside knitting.
Yeah, I'll be outside as soon as it's warm enough and until it's like way too cold. I love to sit outside and knit, whether it's outside on my back porch or sit outside at the outside tables at Starbucks or at the gym or just, drive down to the park on the river and sit there and knit. I love sitting outside and knitting. It's like one of my favorite things ever. Yeah, I love it. So fun.
That's funny.
So, since we didn't answer any more of those, let's do another one. What is your most treasured fiber-related moment?
Oh, that's a toughie. Yeah? I don't know. Why don't you answer it and then then it'll make me think of something.
You know what it is? Actually, I've never really talked about these on the channel, really. But in 2020, before I even knew the pandemic was going to happen, I decided I was going to knit each of my grandchildren the same sweater, but in different color combination. Well, different colors. The stripe were all gray, but each one got their own color. And from this designer I love, Danny Sunshine Knits, and I haven't knit anything of hers in a while, but I love her stuff. And when Pick Up Every Stitch opened, they had a sample. You know how I'm motivated by samples. They had a sample of this hide and seek sweater. It had 2 little pockets in the front, and it had cables down, one on each side, and then it was striped, and it just looked like it could be for a boy or a girl, and it was just the cutest thing ever.
Yeah.
And so I looked at it for a while, and then in January of 2020, my grandchild that has a first birthday is Ruby, and her birthday is February 3rd. So I decided that year I was going to knit 7 of these sweaters, and I did it. I actually did it by October because they all came for Halloween that year in 2020. We all went trick-or-treating together. We all, that was, the pandemic, so we all quarantined ourselves for 14 days so nobody would get sick, and they all came. I mean, everybody was working from home anyway. And the last sweaters were done, and then we did like a little photo shoot. My daughter Elena took pictures of everybody, and I've shared the picture, but a copy of one of the pictures is sitting in Pick Up Every Stitch, and one is above my mantle at home. But that was just for me, just so fun. So for each birthday, their sweater was finished. So I had 2 in February. Actually, it would have been 3, but a new baby was born that February. So I wasn't going to make one for a newborn. So I decided to make hers last.
Right.
So I had 2 in February, 1 in April, 1 in May, 1 in August, 1 in November, and 1 the next February. Is that all of them? I don't know. But anyway, I did them all, and they turned out perfectly. Who knows how, because I didn't swatch then. I must have had the same, gauge, the same tension as Danny, of Danny Sunshine Knits, because they turned out absolutely perfectly. And I still made mistakes on every sweater. I know each sweater has their
But
little
she
mistakes.
fixes them.
I do fix them. Actually, when the last two that were made, well, they weren't the last two. Matthias, his birthday was in August, but they lived in Virginia. And then Daphne, who was the new baby. And so when they came in October, it was the first time I got to try the sweaters on them. And I still have issues with my bind off, like being either too tight or too loose. It's annoying. So they showed up, and they also, those two kids just tend to have bigger heads. And so we were getting ready for the photo shoot, and we tried to pull the sweater over the baby's head. She wasn't even one yet, and it was too tight.
Wow.
The neck. So I literally took scissors and cut a slit in the back of the ribbing of the neck, and she wore it for the photo shoot. And then before they left on their visit, I had re-knitted it and made it better, made it fit, made it looser. So anyway, that was my favorite thing. My 7 hide and seek sweaters in 2020.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
What about you? Your favorite, most treasured fiber related moment?
I guess I have to say, and this was actually a question. I don't know if I wrote it down, but the question was, who is most likely to hop in the car in an instant and go to a yarn festival? Well, the funny thing is that actually happened to me. And I don't know if I knew you yet, but my friend Claudia, who I talked about before, said, I don't know if she said like the night before, you want to go to Vermont, to the Vermont Sheep and Wool. And I was like,
you didn't even knit yet, right? Did you knit?
I did, because I bought...
Then I must have known you already.
Oh, okay. But yeah, I was like, okay. And she loves to drive, so she drove there, and we went to the festival. It was freezing cold. I definitely wore the wrong footwear. and we drove back in one day.
Was it outdoor?
And it was some outdoor and some in a barn. Mm-hmm. And that's where she bought me my sheep mug for my birthday. And then we did the same thing, and we went to the Long Island like yarn crawl, and it was sleeting. It was like March or something. It was sleeting.
Yeah,
and we drove the fair. We drove the car on the ferry, like at Shelter Island. You know, there's a ferry there, car ferry. And just stopping to buy a yogurt at the grocery store, and total road trip. Eating snacks in the car and just drive just to see the yarn. So
that's so fun. I remember when you did that.
I mean, I have so many great
I have to say I was a little envious of Claudia.
Oh,
got to spend all that time with you.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
I don't even know when that was. But I think Claudia has just fewer moving parts, shall we say. And, you do a lot for your family. So it's
I was still working full time.
Oh, you were working full time.
Yeah. I was still working full time. So.
Yeah, she had a job. And I actually worked up until my son-in-law had his accident, and I quit. Mm-hmm. And that was before I went to grad school. But that's why I stopped working, was our life changed.
Yeah, changed a lot in an instant.
That's when I stopped working, or I retired. So that wasn't too long ago. That was 7 years ago, I guess. Yeah.
Cool.
So, do you have a favorite set of needles, and why? This is funny because you've gone through a few sets of needles since I've known you.
Yes. What was the question?
Okay, the question is, do you have a favorite set of needles, and why?
Yeah, I mean, I think these ChowGo interchangeables are my favorite at this point.
But when I met you had just random needles.
I didn't have
a set of needles.
No, I did not.
And you bought that first wooden set.
Yeah,
Kumi.
Right, but they kept coming unscrewed all the time, and they didn't have the little key that you can lock it. So I kept a rubber band. Remember when Jonna did that thing where she kept a gardening glove in her?
Which I still do.
What about a rubber band?
I know.
Can't you just keep a rubber band?
I don't know. It just occurred to me.
It's so funny. It was handy.
I knew where it was.
But when you get broccoli or asparagus, it comes with these thick rubber bands.
Yellow rubber band.
I think ours are purple. So
okay.
I just keep one in my. I used to keep one in that set of needles so that I could, get a tight enough grip to tighten those. But I'd be in the middle of a row and have this gap, and it was so annoying.
So why did you have a set of wooden needles?
I don't know. I always use wooden.
You did. Until?
I mean, no, in Austria, they were different. I started knitting in Austria, so they were kind of like I don't know what they were. They weren't like slippery metal like this, and they weren't wooden. They were kind of, they're not aluminum. I don't know what they were, but I still have some. I didn't throw those. I didn't throw away. But I just use wood. I have no idea why. And maybe it made me not knit as tight, because supposedly you have to knit looser on wood, and I'm a
slippery
tight knitter. Right. But then I think I read somewhere that knitting on metal, you can knit faster. And so I know you loved these. You know what the main reason is? The cable.
For sure.
I love the cable.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't kink up. It doesn't, like when I first used to get circular needles in Austria, we used to even have straight needles with just a cable on the end and a stopper at the end. But when you got them, you'd have to boil water and stick the cable in the water to loosen up the cable and get the kink out of it. So I still have old needles that you still have to do that. You know, when you put it back in the package or put it away, you take it out and it's all kinked again. So I think with the wooden ones, the bamboo ones, they were bamboo, that was one of the issues too. But yeah, so I got these and I love them. Love them.
Yeah, and I have the same set. So, and I think it's because Pick Up Every Stitch sold them, and that's primarily what they used. So.
And you told me about them, and I love them. I think probably I bought some individual needles first.
Right, so did I.
For instance, for these hats, my set doesn't go up. Oh, I'm not using the 17 now, but I bought individual needles, so I wouldn't have to worry about using my set. I bought separate needles to knit these hats.
And then I've since bought the small circumference, so I have both sets. I have the ones that go from like 0 to 3, and then the ones that go from 4 to 8, I think.
Yeah.
So I have both sets of those. So.
I don't have those, but maybe someday. I don't really knit.
And that's actually what I'm using.
Small circumference.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm using right now to knit this beret.
Nice. Yeah, I love that yarn.
So.
Okay, so...
how about you answer a Kim question?
A Kim question?
Yeah, like...
And maybe this will be our last 2 questions for today. How's that? Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't do the other side. Well, anyway. A Kim question. You pick one for me to answer.
What did you do in the entertainment field, and do you still dance?
There you go. Some of you know this from Vlogmas. In the entertainment field, I took dance class since I was 4. I love dancing. When my mom told me she was going to marry a New Yorker and we were going to move to New York, I was over the moon. I was a junior in high school. Most people wouldn't want to leave their friends. I was like, bye! And we were moving to New York within a short 45-minute train ride of the city. And I was just so happy because then, especially my junior year, every day after school, I would go straight to the train station, get on the train, go to the city and take dance class, and then get home at like 10 o'clock at night, do my homework on the train. And I just wanted to be a professional dancer. And then I did do that for a few years. And that's what I did in the entertainment industry. And of course, I took voice lessons then because I had to, but I really was, it's interesting when you get the trade papers and look at the auditions. There's dancers who sing and singers who dance and actors who sing and dance and there's all these different, my specialty was dance. And so I was a dancer who sang. I would never call myself a singer. That's why I still have insecurity about singing. Like I could dance in front of anybody and never get nervous, never anything, but singing, I'm just really insecure. It doesn't come naturally to me because I didn't train it since I was forever old, and it just isn't naturally easy for me. But yeah, so I was a dancer in the entertainment field, more live. Obviously, I didn't do any like TV or movies or anything. Just,
however, little known fact, she did send in a video for Survivor.
I did. I didn't watch Survivor since it first came on. I actually ended up watching it after the fact and what's it called? Like binge watching. So back then on YouTube, you can only do 10-minute videos, I think, if I'm remembering right. So I would have to watch, when I decided I wanted to watch them, I would watch, they would be labeled S1E11, and that was the first 10 minutes. S1E12. So season 1, episode 1, 3. And you would have to watch, and some of the segments were missing, but I watched all the Survivors for a while. And I don't know, I just decided I wanted to send in an audition tape, and I wasn't chosen. I wasn't even called or anything, but I don't know, I just thought that would be fun to do. So anyway, and yes, I was on the Love Boat once, right?
I think I was in Herbie the Love Bug Goes to San Francisco.
You were? You never told me that.
My dad was a boat captain, and I came to work with him that day. And he was always a captain that they chose for all the films and stuff.
Oh, that's
and
so cool.
I think I was in also something with Martin Mull in it. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, so I would come to work with him on those days. So I wasn't in the movie, but I was probably somewhere. Anyway.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah. I thought we should answer.
Did you do a Jonna one?
No, no.
Jeez.
Let's do more of the both ones though, because I feel like people are probably interested in this. So, and there'll be a good way to close. Favorite thing about working on this podcast together, or in the first year of podcasting, what have you learned the most about each other? What has been the funniest thing while podcasting? What was it? I can think of a funny thing.
You go first then.
For the funny thing?
Sure.
Okay, it's kind of a big joke, and everyone likes to remind me that in our ill-fated episode 5, I was sick to my stomach, and it sounded like a good idea to, I think I may have removed an article of clothing and laid on the floor.
Well, that morning you were having a normal morning. You went to the gym,
fine.
You did everything. She showed up. She looked adorable.
Totally fine.
And then we're sitting there, and she starts to look like
uncomfortable.
And she's like, in between,
I think my skirt's on too tight.
I think my skirt's too tight. And she's like, oh, but it's okay. Let's keep going. And all of a sudden, she's like, I think I have to stop. And then she goes to the bathroom, and she comes back holding her tights in her hand.
I know. I took my tights off because I thought maybe the combo of the tights and the skirt was just too much.
And then you laid on the floor.
Then I laid on the floor. The floor was cold, so I think it felt good.
I mean, it wasn't funny at the time. I was worried about you.
And the truth of the matter is that I ran out the front doors and vomited.
Well, then she sat down again first. Then she sat down. She's like, no. I can totally do this. Come on, let's go. We're here.
And then
we're
it got
here.
to the
Let's
point
just
of
do
no
it.
return.
And then all of a sudden she's like, I'll be right back. Out the front door.
And I still can't walk past that spot without thinking about that I threw up there.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was probably the most random, embarrassing, funny, that everyone still likes to remind me. Remember that time you took your clothes off and laid on the floor? I was like, I remember vividly.
And it's so not like her. So that's why I was like, are you okay?
I know. It just came on so suddenly.
And I kept saying, we can just stop. But we had filmed like at least half of it. So actually, when she was out there throwing up, I threw my daughter Elena. She used to come with us. Now she works full time. She can't. I threw her in one of those shop samples, and I was going to have her sit next to me just so we could close it out and say, so.
Well, I did come back afterwards.
She did.
I did.
We actually finished it.
We finished it. And then I was like, you can never air that episode. I can't even look at that episode. Yeah. It's like the last thing you ate before you threw up that you can never, ever eat again. But
for my son, it's red Jell-O.
Oh, my gosh. For me, it was mint tea when I was pregnant. Like, I just couldn't stomach mint tea for a long time. But anyway. Yeah. So.
That's funny.
Yes. What did we learn the most about each other? What have you learned about me? I think I feel free to tell you what I've learned about you.
What have you learned about me?
I mean, I'm surprised how hard you are on yourself and what a perfectionist you are. And not a perfectionist in a bad way, but the reason why the episodes are so great is because you really put 100% into them.
Well, the real reason why is because our friendship shines through and because we are just great together. I think and we're so different knitting wise.
True.
But as far as the production of it.
Like you really had it in your mind. Like I want certain lighting. I want audio quality. I want, video quality. And, you don't do anything halfway. So when we decided to do a podcast, she was like, she bought all the equipment and we just were, really invested in. I thought, we'll just set up our iPhone and we'll just hold it. So if it were up to me, we wouldn't even have a podcast anymore.
Well, just like,
I'm like, it's good enough.
I want it to be a pleasure to watch. And some things that used to, I wasn't a big podcast watcher anyway. By this time, I had only watched Fruity Knitting and I had just started watching Arne and Carlos.
Which are both both very well produced.
They are. They're very different.
Yeah.
But, and they don't really do this, but the reason I only watch them is because it would bother me when people would talk about things and it would be so far away I couldn't really see the detail. Or they would hold it up to the camera and the camera's trying to focus. And then by the time it barely got focused, they'd pull the thing down. And I was like, oh, I couldn't see it. So I knew right away I want to insert beautiful pictures of knitwear so that you can see the detail. You can see when you're talking about the saddle shoulder. You can see the rib. I don't know. It's just...
But one of the crazy things is that she hates technology. And I don't think I knew that about you.
Yeah, I'm not a technology person at all.
Yeah, and so I didn't know that about her.
Someone just said, we were talking about our notes, they're like, there's this thing, these Google Docs, and then you can both...
Oh, and I was like, I can't even answer that question.
This has been an ongoing thing. Was my whole computer career, I was a Microsoft Word person. 20 years at my job, that's what we did. We did Microsoft Word. I taught myself Excel and all that. So then... when I wasn't working there anymore and I got a new laptop, I didn't want to install Microsoft Word on there. So this was I don't know, in 2019, 2020, I thought I'll just try to use Pages. So Pages is the Apple product. I didn't want to do Microsoft Word. So I taught myself, basics of Pages. At my job, I had to do all kinds of things. But now I'm just doing personal things.
But you didn't do them collaboratively.
No. I never had to do anything collaboratively.
Right.
I ran my own program.
Right.
I didn't have to get input.
It doesn't matter what word processor you use.
No. So then we start the channel, and she wants me to use something new. And I'm like...
And I've only worked on collaborative documents. So PDF markup and, so I'm very tech savvy. I've been, I've had to learn a lot of new technology for my job. And so that's really been a struggle for us. I mean, not a big struggle. We really haven't had any struggles. We're both pretty flexible.
Yeah.
But just the technology part of it. And, the fact that you've had to learn so much technology to be able to produce the podcast.
Yeah, and I never really used Gmail, and there's so many things that I never really used. I used all Apple. My husband's an Apple person.
And
He's
I have
person.
all Apple products too, but I do use Google Docs, and I've just been forced to. But,
yeah. So she has tried to, she's set up a whole thing and tried to go in there, and I go and I look at the documents, I can look at them, when I figure out how to modify it, but I'm kind of picky, same way. I'm really picky about how I want it formatted on the page, and you're not so much. You just want the information there.
I mean, I've spent my whole life trying to dot my I's and cross my T's, and I'm just like, I don't care, whatever works for you.
Right, it's not a printed book.
So that's what we decided is whatever works for her, whatever works for me, and at some point it just comes together.
Somehow it comes together.
Yes, and it's funny because I'm usually the techie person in a relationship, like all the school projects, I'm the techie person. So it's really weird to be in a relationship where I'm not the techie person.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's kind of funny.
Anyway.
And it's been a learning process too, just figuring out how to communicate with each other. Just a lot of times we just communicate via text, which isn't the best.
Yeah.
My feelings have gotten hurt.
Yeah.
Your feelings have gotten hurt.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm apologizing. I'm so sorry. I don't want to hurt her feelings at all.
Well, and honestly, I've learned how to speak up, so I'm not very good at speaking up. And so it takes me a while, a couple days. And I don't know if I'm comfortable with this or whatever, You
kind of beat around the bush
I do.
without coming right out and saying it.
I know.
And mine more like, just tell me.
I know. She's been really patient with me because sometimes I make decisions what appear to be at the last minute, but it's something I've been thinking about for a long time and haven't really come out and said.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And then I've also learned that if I text her during my process when I'm frustrated with something, you feel really guilty that I have to put in all this work. And that's not my intention. I start freaking out when she does. Now I know.
I'm sitting there knitting, or I'm out to lunch with my husband, and she's stressing. I'm
over
oh my gosh!
And so now I realize that you really feel bad for me. Yes. And meanwhile, she really answers most of the comments because I'm doing the editing. It just I've just edited for 2 days.
I know.
So she feels especially the first day.
But I can spread that out over days.
Yeah.
Whereas she's in this time crunch to get which we've discussed before, the song. So anyway. Yeah, she loves the song, and I'm like, well, whatever. So, but that's just how we're different, and I guess that's what makes us interesting podcasters.
Yeah, and I just feel like you're such a valuable friend. I'm not gonna
Right.
I'm not the kind of person who sweeps things under the rug and doesn't deal with them. I'm too old for that.
So, and this has forced me to have that sticking power, to stay and work through the hard things. So it's been good.
I mean, there have been times when we've texted each other, well, that's it then.
I'm done with you. Done with you.
It's more like I'm done with the channel, or I'm done with...
Or you can do this by yourself.
Do whatever you want.
I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this by myself.
Oh, gosh, it's so funny.
I know.
But I usually just, we give each other a little time, and then we realize...
Yeah, at the beginning of Vlogmas, I downloaded the trial version of Final Cut. I was like, I'm going to learn Final Cut, and I'm going to learn how to edit these episodes. But I just thought that was kind of what we agreed upon in the beginning, was like, maybe you'll do some and maybe I'll do some.
And we can totally do that.
But I do feel like she kind of has this, you have this consistency and you have this style that I think would be hard to replicate. Hard for me to replicate. So,
even in that, we were talking about hiring someone to do them. And the amount of time it would take us to... I mean, there's no way, even with a logo, like we have a picture in our head, we tell the person and they send it back to us, and how many times is it going back and forth until it's what we want? It would be the same way with video editing. I definitely have to let go of some of my...
Yes. And for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, she does everything to the nth degree. You are so thorough, so conscientious, she emails people, and so... I'm just a little bit, I think I spent my whole career having to be that person. And I'm just like, I can't do that anymore. But what was I going to say?
Well, I think we're so passionate about it, and we're having so much fun with it. I like it that there's 12,000 subscribers.
I know.
I mean, it's motivating in a way.
It is.
And it's just, I don't know, it's really, I just keep thinking that, look, you can teach an old dog new tricks. Not that I'm a dog or that old, but it is amazing how much we have both learned and we have both overcome and we've both grown in doing this for just this
Well, it was like
year.
when I was going through the whole AdSense thing. So AdSense is this thing that has to do with Google. And I would text you all the time. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm crying. I've been doing this for 3 hours. I don't know how to fix this. And being on the phone with all these, or on the chat with all these tech people and this and that. Oh, what I was going to say is there's a special edition of a Knit Together with Kim and Jonna mug in our shop right now where Kim has purple hair.
Oh, really? You use the purple logo?
Yeah, I use the purple logo to make a mug because our winner for the questions... I ordered her prize, and I just on a whim decided to do the mug.
She's going to have the
hair.
only
She's going to have the only mug with the purple hair. So anyway,
I was thinking next year we should have a Christmas version, or a holiday version where obviously we can't put a hat on my crazy hair, but you could have a Santa hat on, and I could have like a red scarf around my neck, or the knitting could be red or green or something. Anyway, okay, we're getting totally off track now.
All right,
is that it? I guess that's basically it, right?
I think so. We covered a lot in that last little blurb.
We did. And there's a lot more questions still, so we can add them to different episodes. And this has been really fun.
I know.
Especially to not really talk about knitting.
Right.
And the channel. Sometimes when we do get together, we're not talking about the
knitting.
channel.
Right, we're not talking about the channel. And that's been the fun thing about Vlogmas, too, is that, talk about knitting if it comes up. But yeah, it hasn't been my focus. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So just a reminder, Ray Irvine, where are you? Contact us so we can mail you your calendar.
Yep.
And I guess that's it, right?
Yep.
This is our last mini-sode for 2022.
So we're not counting our
we're going to do this
and Happy
New Year's Eve.
Yeah, so we can recount all the resolutions I did not accomplish.
Yeah. Those are kind of like an extension of Vlogmas in a way. But anyway.
Okay.
That's it.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sending us all your amazing questions.
Yes.
We had a really great time.
It was fun.
Yeah. And like, subscribe, share, put on your notifications.
Become a member.
Become a member if you want to. We have
order a knitter's planner.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
we have an affiliate link.
We have an affiliate link, so you can order.
I don't think there'll be any show notes for this.
Order merch. When you look up this whole merch thing, they say, it helps if you talk about it all the time. But one of the beauties of our channel is we don't sell things.
Right.
So we're not going to remind you all the time. But we do have merch if you want some. You don't have to
If
buy
you
it.
want.
Someone commented,
You
like,
don't
you guys
have
aren't very good at
to.
selling things because you're always like, you don't have to.
I know. I'm a
And you
terrible
don't.
salesperson.
You don't
so,
have to. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Anyway.
Oh,
Thank
you also created a black t-shirt, though, because someone requested.
I did a black and then a long sleeve.
Oh, right.
I think I did the long sleeve one.
Right, a long
But honestly,
sleeve.
the shop is a bit confusing, and I apologize. But yeah, there were like 40 white T-shirts in there with white logos, so it looked like there were a bunch of white T-shirts with nothing on them. But I'm learning. So
Yeah, it's not intuitive.
No, it
it's
is
not
not
the
intuitive
best.
at all.
Is it called an interface between?
I guess yes.
Anyway, that's it.
Anyway, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Really, Jonna, this is so fun. This is so fun. I said I'm going to do a cable row, and then I already messed it up, so I have to figure something out.
I had to tink back. I don't know if you noticed that, but I tinked back like half a row.
So did I, because I went too far, and then I just messed up my cable row. But anyway, who cares?
Honestly.
I have that look in my eye.
Yeah, you have that look in your eye.
So funny.
You want a glass of water?
No, I'll have wine.
Okay.
You mean I don't have to anymore say, I think we should take a break?
No. She had that look in her eye like... Welcome to Knit Together with Kim and Jonna. I'm Jonna.
And I'm Kim.
And welcome back. So we are finally recording our Ask Us Anything
Mini-sode.
Mini-sode.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know what we're calling it. An Ask Us Anything mini-sode.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and so during episode 12, can we just start over? Yeah.
Sure. We don't have to stop the camera. It's fine.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Okay.